Meanwhile, two employees at the National Test Zone Management Control Center were sitting very worried. As per President Jin Jian's orders, they were keeping an eye on Lu Fan, but they had not heard from President Jin for a long time. They wondered if he was okay. Was he safe? Would he lose his job now? These thoughts were troubling them. Mr. Kim hasn't contacted us since he teleported. Have we been fired? One employee said seriously, worry clearly visible on his face. There was a sense of dread in his voice. The other employee calmed down a little and said, "Don't take it as bad luck. Maybe Mr. Kim has dealt with the job himself, and maybe we don't need him anymore." He took a deep breath, as if trying to calm his own fears. There was panic in the room, but then suddenly there was a sound at the gate. One of the employees' attention shifted from his work to that direction. One of them got up and walked towards the gate, and then as he raised his hand to open the gate, another employee said, "Mr. Kim told us to keep an eye on Lu Fan, so let's just keep an eye on him. Don't go looking for trouble." There was a kind of restraint in his voice, as if he had convinced himself that they should remain patient under all circumstances. As the door slowly opens, a shadowy figure of a woman emerges from outside. Her eyes have a terrifying depth that can scare anyone. There is no emotion on her face, just a cold and negative smile that shows that something very dangerous is about to happen at this moment. The employee's heart starts to flutter. His pulse quickens. As the woman moves towards him, her movement was so fast and unexpected that he could not even think about what happened. In a flash, he sees only a terrifying mist in the woman's eyes. "What? What am I looking at?" he mumbles, his voice a mix of fear and desperation, as if he cannot comprehend in his mind what is happening. The woman moves towards him with all her strength and speed, without any warning. The employee does not even get any warning time. "Hey!" he screams in panic, and feels his words come as a shock. But before he can say anything more, the woman rushes towards him, and swiftly places a shining knife at his throat. There is a terrifying silence. He is completely stunned, as if the control of his life has completely gone into the hands of the woman. The employee's eyes widen, and he screams in panic. "Hey, I am talking to you. Can you hear me?" His voice is full of fear, worry, and a cry for help. He feels alone, without any help. Then suddenly she puts her hand on his mouth so that he cannot scream, and then she immediately cuts his throat with her shining knife, and the next moment he falls on the ground. The other employee is terrified by the sight. His heart starts pounding, and his whole body starts trembling. He doesn't know what to do next. His muscles seem to freeze, and he stands still for a moment, as if both his body and mind have stopped working in this terrifying situation. Fright seeps through his veins, and just as he thinks he might find a way to escape, he tries to run without thinking. But little does he know, the woman had already caught his speed long ago. She rushes towards him like the wind, and in an instant has him in her grasp. He feels a strange heat and pressure in his body, as if some unknown force is holding him. Suddenly, the woman says in a low and terrifying voice in his ear, "Don't scream, keep quiet, otherwise you too will face pain." There was a cold and ruthless tone in her voice that made the employee's body tremble. Her eyes were shining. The employee's face was full of fear and tears, and he trembled. "Please don't do this. Let me go! Let me go!" The woman pays no attention to his desperate plea, nor does he seem bothered by his distress. But as she pauses for a moment, she leaves him with a stubborn smile. The woman was now at the very center, standing at the spot where the live stream was being controlled. There was an invisible determination in her eyes, as if she was ready to execute a new plan. She quickly grabbed the live stream wire and plucked it. While talking on the phone, she said, 3 minutes are up, and I'm disconnecting it now. Don't worry about it. The Morgan family will never fail. As the live stream suddenly stops, there is a silence. All the viewers who are staring at the screen are confused. For a few moments, everything becomes absolutely quiet, as if time has stopped. A black curtain spreads on the screen. Then, gradually, there is a commotion all around. What happened? Why did the live stream stop? These questions start echoing everywhere. People start talking wildly among themselves. There is a mixed feeling of panic and curiosity on their faces. What is happening? A voice emerges, and after this there is a commotion. Some people shout, "Has the signal cut out? Has the power gone out? And is this a trick? Are we being hidden from the truth?" There was an atmosphere of restlessness and tension among everyone. Everyone asks each other, "Did you hear something? Does anyone know anything?" Then there is an announcement. A voice resounds, which tries to bring peace. "Please maintain peace. We are facing technical problems. The technical problem will be fixed soon. Please be patient." But this announcement does not succeed in calming anyone. His voice seems to be lost in the air, and people start discussing among themselves again. Is this true? Has something gone wrong? We need to meet the person in charge of the live stream. Vice Principal Zhao looks at old Ahan with a serious gaze and whispers into his ear, "Hey Oldja, as usual, it's Tai Kai Nation who's causing trouble." Oldja's eyes show no particular reaction, but he quietly says, "Star Tribe's nation is not a simple country either." There was an odd silence in his voice, as if he was simply ignoring the situation. Meanwhile, another employee's nervous voice is heard. "Hey Mr. Kim, you're the person in charge. Go ask him." The other person replies, a little confused and troubled, "Hey, where is Mr. Kim? He was here just now. Where did he go?" There was a slight concern in his voice. The employee says, "I don't know. I think someone called him just now." And as he says this, there is some more confusion and doubt. The scene changes to what was happening at the end of the corridor outside the war room. Here, President Jin Jian's serious voice resounds. "You are already quiet. Mr. Morgan, you said you wanted to talk to me about something." His voice was full of authority and control. The old man from the Morgan family goes silent for a few moments. He thinks inwardly, the Morgan family is never defeated, and then he maintains his calm and says, "I said I would take 3 minutes of your time, but really, I have nothing to discuss with you." Jin Jian is shocked to hear this, a shocked gleam in his eyes. He says in a loud voice, "Hey, what are you joking about? I am so busy and you come to me and tell me I don't have time. What kind of joke is this?" There was frustration and anger in his voice, as if he was wondering how someone could disrespect his time like that. But the old man's reaction was completely calm and cool. He slowly walks away, adjusting his hat, as if nothing had affected him. He says, 3 minutes are up. Thank you, Mr. Kim." And then he says in a slightly colder tone, "With that, I bid you goodbye." Musashi Ten's face is full of surprise and curiosity. He asks in surprise, "What are you saying? Has Lu Fan become a servant of the fallen corpse ancient god, allowing him to use the ancient god's power to control the no loco Rakshaso?" Charles remains silent for a while, then replies in a cold and mysterious voice, "Yes, there is an ancient existence, the blessing of the ancient god. It's like a fairy tale, or just unbelievable. And with that I understand it's hard to believe, because it's unimaginable. After all, the power of the ancient gods is a blessing from the heavens." Charles' eyes had an invisible gleam, as if he was about to reveal a deep secret. His voice was confident and powerful. No matter how strong your strength is, just a small amount of it can give you a further boost of transformation. It's the power of the ancient gods, the essence of the sacred mountain consecrated by my master. Then suddenly, he holds up his hands. 3 crystals in his hands start glowing. They were yellow in color, and each crystal emitted a mysterious aura, which made the place even more mysterious. Musashi Ten and Jin Changyi both look at him, and Musashi Ten asks in surprise, "The power is just the feel of it, respectably powerful?" And he asks if this is the source of your power. Charles laughs and replies, "No, 2 of these 3 are for you." On hearing this, a wave of curiosity and amazement runs through the eyes of both Musashi Ten and Jin Changyi. Both of them cannot believe it. They look at each other in surprise, as if it is impossible for them to understand. There was a surprised tone in Musashi Ten's voice. "Is this really for us?" To which Jing Chung gets shocked and says, "If it is as powerful as you are saying, that it is able to transform us, then what will be its price?" Musashi Ten also asks the same question, that is it right that being able to transform into a strong hidden class is really such a rare thing, can't it be given to us for free? There must be a reason behind it. Charles shows a little sadness on his face, and he says, then it is clear that there is a transaction, and he tells that you are my master, let me baptize you. By gaining more power, our Morgan family will be able to discover unknown ancient gods in Taki country and Shukra country. How about this? Hearing Charles, Changhyun thinks to himself, I am a prince. The Morgan family will definitely not betray me. And discovering ancient gods is one thing, but by obtaining their essence now, we will immediately become more powerful. Musashi Ten agrees to this at the same time. Jin Changhyun also agrees and says, I accept this deal. Jin Changhyun then extends his hand and takes out the crystal and says that after killing Lu Fan, let the Morgan family come to the Qin family and discuss the search for the ancient gods. As soon as he takes the crystal in his hand, he starts shouting badly as if there is a lot of power in his hand, and he says, of course you want Lu Fan to always be above us. If he can use the power of the ancient gods, now we can too. Charles extends his hand while looking at Musi 10 times and says, hurry up, hurry up. The outsiders will see us, and you will lose your chance. Musi 10 was hesitating while looking at that crystal, and then he extends his hand to pick up the crystal, and says, I accept this deal. Charles says, this is right, remember, don't resist. Then he smiles and says, the more you are dedicated to the change, the stronger my master will make you. And for this last piece, it is prepared for Lu Fan. And smiles and says with this, I will make Lu Fan my sacred puppet. There were 2 murders at the National Test Range Management Control Center. The perpetrator of those murders was an unknown woman who was from the Morgan family. She not only killed 2 employees, but also shut down the live broadcast. When he looked at the bodies of his employees, there was a mixture of deep anger in his eyes. And as more information came out in the investigation, it became clear that the killer was not caught in the surveillance footage, and the evidence of the live broadcast had also been destroyed. This raised a big question. Who did all this? Meanwhile, President Jin Jian's personal secretary asked him, shall we share this report with the media? President Jin Jian's face turned red with anger when he heard this question. The president said angrily, no, we will not let it go to the media. We will sort it out on our own, and getting rid of this mess is our priority. He fell into deep thought, his brows furrowed. There was a mixture of horror and resentment in his heart. This must have been done by the Morgan family. This day took another strange turn for Lu Fan. The number of puppets kept dwindling. This question kept bothering him. Lu Fan seriously thought over his plan and decided that he had to find out this mystery. He headed towards the National Testing Area volcano, where he hoped to find the answer. As soon as he entered the volcano area, a strange sight appeared before his eyes. There were burning volcanoes all around, whose flames seemed to hide some fear and conspiracy. There was a deep silence in the air, as if the volcano was about to spew something more than lava. This sight deepened Lu Fan's suspicions even more. He took a deep breath and said, as expected, mutual hunting in the final stage of the competition can only speed up the process. Lu Fan opened his status window, and within seconds he realized that Yesenglai was just a short distance away, but this time there was something different. An unknown mission, hidden from his sight, was just around the corner. What was that mission? Lu Fan then ordered Xiao Jai, go ahead and meet this old friend first. As soon as Xiao Jai heard the order, he quickly picked up his pace and headed towards the location Lu Fan indicated. But Lu Fan just stood there and looked around. His eyes were searching for the mysteries hidden all around. He wondered, where is Yesenglai? As Lu Fan looked at Yasangli, there was a slight anger and surprise in his eyes, but also a mysterious smile. He felt Yasangli hiding in his path. Yasangli saw that Lu Fan was walking towards him, and his happiness knew no bounds. There was a sense of peace and satisfaction in his heart. It's Lu Fan! He was very happy with himself, because he felt that Lu Fan had made a difference by leaving him alive. He thought to himself, Big Brother Lu Fan not only didn't kill me, but also encouraged me. Lu Fan looked at Yasangli and walked towards her with a smile, saying, Hey Yasangli, you're really lucky to have survived this long. Yasangli's face suddenly turned even greener. He smiled and said, I thought someone would kill me, but thankfully I met Big Brother Lu Fan. This conversation was no ordinary thing. There was a deep feeling behind it, as if it wasn't just a fight, but the return of an old relationship. Lu Fan looked at his status window and then looked at Yasangli and said, "Why are you ranked in the bottom 10th place with 1.5 million points? Why did you score so few points?" Lu Fan's eyes were fixed on Yasangli, and he was closely observing her every move. Something wasn't right. Something was wrong. He felt confused. Yasangli's carefree behavior and her happiness made him even more suspicious. The final stage of the competition was just a few steps away, and any carelessness would raise suspicions. Lu Fan looked deeply into Yasangli's eyes and then said seriously, "You should understand that this is the final stage of the competition. No one can be friendly with you during this time." His voice was a clear warning, but the confusion within her was now even deeper. Everyone will want to kill you to earn your points. In this situation, if you don't trust anyone, it could put your life in danger. Lu Fan's words were more than just a warning to Yasangli at this point. They were hints of a serious mystery. Was Yasangli really in danger, or was it all just an illusion? Still confused, Lu Fan slowly unwound his bow. Every hint pointed to a deeper plan. Just then, a loud roar resounded. It was Xiao Jai, who was using his full power. Lu Fan moved his eyes away from Yasangli and immediately used his perception power. This was a special skill he used to detect enemies hiding in the form of black dragons. He concentrated his inner energy and activated this unique skill. It took just a few seconds for the system to respond. The air around him began to stir, and Lu Fan began to sense enemies hiding around him. As Lu Fan activated his perception power, suddenly, the ground beneath Yasangli burst open and a bright, yellow light burst out, enveloping her. Lu Fan's vision widened. He knew that this was no ordinary situation. Something dark and dangerous was happening. A look of fear flashed across Yasangli's face, and she panicked. The fear in her eyes was evident. In the next instant, a giant hand emerged from the ground, so huge and powerful that it grabbed Yasangli in one stroke. This hand belonged to a yellow monster, an invisible, dangerous, and ancient monster that now had Yasangli completely grasped in its claws. Its yellow color and huge size indicated that this was no ordinary monster. This dangerous power grabbed Yasangli tightly in its hand and immediately lifted her up to put her in its mouth. Yasangli screamed, but there was no one to help her. There was only fear in her eyes and panic running through her body. Now Lu Fan was completely alert. The yellow monster was not just a monster, but part of a much greater power. This monster appeared in Lu Fan's memories. It was the same yellow dragon that the Holy Mountain slave had summoned, and its level had reached 62. Lu Fan remembered whose power this monster was. It was the same monster that Jin Chengen had summoned. Without wasting a moment, Lu Fan raised his bow. Using the power of the snake arrow, he shot a magical arrow without drawing the bow. Each arrow caused 100% damage. Yasangli was screaming desperately. Her voice was full of application. "Save me! Save me!" But Lu Fan didn't say a single word. There was only a cold determination in his eyes. Miss Haxi and Jing Changhang watched all this silently, and the next moment, Yasangli died. The status window read, "Yasangli is dead." Lu Fan took a deep breath, but there was no regret in his eyes. Jing Changhang stood up arrogantly, a look of immense confidence on his face. He raised both his hands and began chanting. There was a slight teasing and mockery in his voice. "Yes, I accidentally stole your points," he said with a smile. "I hope you don't mind." He was saying this to Musiston, but the dangerous intent hidden in his eyes was clear. He then looked at Lu Fan, and there was a sense of excitement in his voice. "Your points will be ours soon after all." "Hey Lu Fan," he said, "now get ready to die." Lu Fan stood calmly, with his dragon beside him, who was fully prepared. There was a deep understanding in his eyes, and he replied, "It's been a long time since we met. You've all gotten a lot stronger. It seems like you're with the sacred mountain slave." Jin Chenghin and Musashi Ten both have a look of vengeance and deep hatred for Lu Fan on their faces. They want to use the abyss monster to kill Lu Fan just like they killed Yesengli. Their eyes are full of cruelty and vengeance. "I accidentally stole your points." This statement directly ridicules Lu Fan. By using the word accidentally, Jing Kyo-han wants to imply that he intentionally stole Musashi Ten's points, almost costing him his life. And then he says, "I hope you don't mind." This sentence is full of sarcasm and ridicule. Musashi Ten can't help but say this. He also taunts Lu Fan. "After all, Lu Fan, you are going to die too, and soon all your points will be ours." Lu Fan hears him, laughs heartily, and replies, "The last time I hit you, you were weak. But now you look strong, and you have the power to resurrect through the abyss skill. I know about that. And maybe we are meeting after a long time." Lu Fan can understand the situation of both of them because they have suddenly become very powerful. They must be working together with Charles, and he is the one who is planning to hunt me. At the same time, the status window shows that the hunters are face to face. Charles stands back and observes the situation. He feels that he understands the powers of both of them. This Charles was a level 63 Holy Priest of the Holy Mountain 10 secret class, so he feels that he is more powerful than Lu Fan. And then he challenges Lu Fan with a warning. "Before I kill you, I want to give you a chance." Friends, I want to say one thing, that if you press the like button on this video and make a good comment, then it will help me financially. He immediately raises his hand, and a glowing crystal appears in his hand. The status window appears. It is called the Essence of the Holy Mountain, and its effect is unknown. Charles tries to scare Lu Fan. He says to Lu Fan, "Hey Lu Fan, give up your loyalty and surrender to me as your master, and you will get the ultimate holy power, and your life will be spared." As soon as Lu Fan sees the essence of the Holy Mountain in his hand, he immediately gets lost in memories. The next moment he remembers. He already knew about that essence. That this essence of the Holy Mountain is very powerful. It is exactly like the essence of the fallen corpse. And looking at them, it seems that they must have done this to convert Kim Seong-han and Musashi Ten. Surely these two have used the power of this essence. Then Charles also says that we are giving you this offer. If you join us, so you won't have to fight us. Listening to Charles' words, Lu Fan starts laughing and shows his hand. The meaning of showing his hand was that he wanted to stop him from speaking. And he says, "My loyalty, I am laughing after hearing what you are saying. And nothing is going to happen as you want. I am not afraid of you at all." Charles becomes even more angry after hearing Lu Fan's words, and he says, "How dare you insult me?" After hearing this, Lu Fan gives Charles a last warning, and he says, "Hey Charles, I want to tell you for your information, that even with this power, you cannot do anything to me. And with this power, you can only ask up to the level of the summoned creatures of my dragon pet." After listening to Lu Fan, disappointment is visible on everyone's faces, as if sadness has spread on everyone's faces. When Charles saw this situation, he understood that Jing Chenghen and Musi Teng were losing courage. So he immediately started inciting them against Lu Fan. And then he immediately said, "Hey, Musashi Ten and Jing Chenghen killed you last time. Don't you want to take revenge? Now this is your chance. You can't miss it." Musashi Ten flies away, saying, "This is what I was waiting for," and then he immediately jumps towards Lu Fan. Jing Chenghan was burning with anger, and then he springs into action and says, "Hey Lu Fan, I will pay double the price for all your complaints." Meanwhile, Jing Chenghan's Abyss Hunter attacks Lu Fan. Meanwhile, Lu Fan also springs into action, and then he reveals his divine bow and starts attacking them. Lu Fan is attacking Musashi Ten, and says, and thinks to himself, "These people have willingly become slaves of the ancient gods, and they have no honor, so they have no respect." A fiery aura was coming out of Lu Fan's bow, which was targeting Musashi Ten. Musashi Ten was also taking Lu Fan very lightly, and was moving fast towards him to attack him. Musashi Ten was a samurai, so he used to have a sword, and then he starts swinging his sword in all four directions, and protects himself from Lu Fan's impact. Musashi Ten wears his mask at the same time, and which was giving a yellow aura. And he taunts Lu Fan by saying, "Wise people bow down to the circumstances, adapt themselves according to the situation. But you are a fool, Lu Fan. It is clear today that a fool like you will definitely die by my sword today." Wearing the mask, he gives Lu Fan another chance and tries to convince him. I suggest you join the Sacred Mountain Slaves. Hey Lu Fan, you should join the Sacred Mountain Slaves. It will save your life by becoming our subordinate. Musashi Ten uses the power of the Oni mask at the same time. The main power of this mask is that as soon as you wear it, you instantly transform into an Oni. Every time you take damage, your normal attack damage increases by 10% and attack speed increases by 30%, which can be up to 6 times. Charles also immediately begins to react and threatens Lu Fan. If you don't come with us, I will turn you into a puppet of the Sacred Mountain. After saying that, he activates the crystal, which immediately flies into the air and emits a yellow aura. Lu Fan looks at it and thinks to himself, I killed countless followers of the ancient gods in the far north, and how dare he threaten me? Musashi Ten stood there, and then he threatened him for the last time. Be obedient and let go of your thoughts. Think about yourself. The power of the Sacred Mountain has scared you. Lu Fan was bored by his words. His empty threats made Lu Fan even more angry. At the same time, he raises his bow, which was emitting a red aura, and he says Jai Jai immediately transform into a destructive dragon. He knew and thought in his mind that none of you 3 will be able to leave this secret place alive. At the same time, Goji transforms into Dragon Destroyer form. Flames appear around him, and he creates a powerful fireball which instantly attacks Musashi Ten. Musashi Ten was instantly countered by that fire attack, and he says, do you want to catch me by surprise? You can never catch me. Meanwhile, Lu Fan takes his sword and moves towards Jin Chinhen and his Abyss Monster. As soon as he gets close to him, he attacks his Abyss Monster with his sword. Lu Fan's attack was too powerful. Musashi Ten is also watching this scene, and now he starts getting worried. This attack starts to make his Abyss Monster's condition worse. He starts screaming badly. Qingyan is also getting worried. Fight. Today is the day of your death. Lu Fan immediately jumps off the ground and sits directly on top of his dragon. As Lu Fan sits on his dragon, he starts warning the 2 of them again, saying you said 2 arrogant words, so apologize for that and your lives will be saved. Lu Fan immediately invokes Jai Fei and Jiao 4 appears immediately. And then he thinks to himself that because of the essence of the fallen corpses, the Flying Dragon King has evolved into a powerful fallen corpse dragon. If we infuse it with Charles' Sacred Mountain essence, then the lives of you 3 Sacred Mountain slaves, and that essence will all be mine. Friends, this chapter ends here. To see what will happen in the next chapter, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, so that you can be the first to see our upcoming videos. Let's meet in the next chapter.